Welcome to No Chill Nature, where reality is stranger, deeper, and far more terrifying than fiction. In 2025, we've mapped Mars better than we've mapped our own oceans. So what's really lurking down there? What if the sea monsters from ancient myths were real all along? What if they still live in the darkest trenches, evolving, hiding, waiting? Today, we dive headfirst into 35 terrifying deep-sea creatures that are either confirmed by science or backed by chilling witness accounts. From prehistoric giants to gelatinous blobs that defy biology, these aren't bedtime stories. They're warnings. The technology is new, the sightings are real, and the ocean is watching. So grab a light, hold your breath, and get ready, because hunting for deep-sea monsters in 2025 starts now. The Kraken, Leviathan of the deep. For over 800 years, Scandinavian sailors told stories of the Kraken, a tentacled monster so large it was mistaken for an island. They said it dragged ships under with whirlpools and shredded men with suckered arms. Medieval maps even warned, "Here be monsters." But it wasn't all superstition. In 1857, Danish naturalist Japetus Steenstrup gave the Kraken a name, Architeuthis dux, the giant squid. With eyes 11 inches wide, almost the size of a human head, these deep-sea predators remain nearly impossible to study alive. Their bodies are soft and fragile, often torn apart when brought to the surface. But in 2006, Japanese researchers recorded one attacking bait at 3,000 feet deep. The footage showed a muscular, aggressive predator, not the slow, passive blob many had expected. And in 2019, Norway filmed a 12-foot squid lunging at their camera, proving it wasn't just hiding, it was hunting. Imagine what lurks even deeper. Giant squids can grow to 43 feet, but rumors persist of a colossal squid up to 60 feet long with swiveling hooks in its tentacles. If that's true, the Kraken wasn't a myth. It was a warning. Sea serpents, the snake kings of the ocean. From Viking longships to 19th century whalers, stories of sea serpents have haunted ocean logs, sinister, coiled shadows as long as a ship, eyes glowing above the waves, bodies writhing like smoke. In 1734, Norwegian missionary Hans Egede described a serpent longer than our ship, with a head that rose out of the sea like a man. It was no drunk tale, he wrote it in a church document. One of the most credible accounts happened in 1848. The HMS Daedalus, a British naval vessel, documented a 60-foot serpent gliding beside their ship for 20 minutes. It was witnessed by the captain and several officers, trained men of science. What they likely saw: the oarfish. The oarfish is a real-life sea serpent, with a ribbon-like body that can stretch over 56 feet. Its silver skin reflects light like a mirror. Its red dorsal fin ripples like a mane, exactly like ancient sketches of sea dragons. It lives thousands of feet below the surface, coming up only when sick or dying, fueling ghostly sightings throughout history. And here's something wild. Oarfish are believed to sense seismic shifts. In Japan, they call it Ryugu no Tsukai, messenger from the sea god's palace. After oarfish sightings, earthquakes have followed. Was that folklore, or the ocean sending a message? The Lurks, the beast of the blue holes. In the warm tropical waters of the Bahamas lies a network of deep sinkholes called blue holes. Beautiful on the surface, but deadly underneath. Locals whisper about the Lurks, a half-octopus, half-shark beast that drags swimmers down into the abyss. Its victims never resurface. But the myth holds clues. The blue holes connect to vast underwater cave systems, making them perfect hiding spots for ambush predators. Some scientists suggest the Rousulka legend arose from rare sightings of enormous octopuses like the 7-meter Pacific giant octopus. Here's the creepy part. Octopuses are not just smart, they're alien-level smart. They can unscrew jars, mimic other species, and even solve puzzles. In 2017, divers in the Bahamas recorded something massive pulling a reef shark into a blue hole. It vanished instantly. The footage never confirmed what did it, but it was stronger than a shark. And let's not forget, in 2002, a US Navy sub reported an object moving at over 200 knots underwater, far faster than any known marine animal. The Navy called it an unidentified submerged object. Locals said it was Rousulka. Ningen, the polar ghost. Far from the tropics, in the icy Antarctic, a new sea monster has emerged, not from legend, but from classified reports. Japanese whaling crews began reporting sightings in the 1990s of a massive humanoid creature, 60 to 90 feet long, white as snow. No eyes, no face, but unmistakably alive. They called it the Ningen, Japanese for human. One ship's crew claimed they tracked it on sonar for 30 minutes before it disappeared beneath an iceberg. Another said it looked back at them. Skeptics say it's a misidentified whale or iceberg, but leaked photos showed something different. Arm-like appendages, and in one, a human-shaped face beneath the ice. Even more suspicious, Japan's government allegedly restricted access to some of these waters. Several alleged whistleblowers say images were confiscated. Antarctica remains one of the least explored places on Earth, and if the Ningen is real, it may not be alone. What else sleeps beneath the South Pole? Mermaids, the beautiful lie. Mermaids appear in nearly every oceanic culture, from Africa's Mamiwata to the Japanese Ningyo. But these aren't Disney mermaids. They're seducers, sirens, killers. So why do so many cultures describe the same thing? A creature with a woman's torso and a fish's tail, often luring men to their deaths? In the Caribbean, enslaved Africans spoke of mermaids living in freshwater springs. In Zimbabwe, divers claim to still lose people in rivers locals say are mermaid guarded. Science attributes early sightings to manatees. But can manatees sing? Can they mimic human speech, as some stories suggest? In 2013, Animal Planet aired a mockumentary called Mermaids, The Body Found. It was fake, but it triggered thousands of calls from people claiming to have seen real mermaids. And here's a kicker. In 2017, on an Indian Ocean island, fishermen found a washed-up creature with webbed fingers, small breasts, and a fish-like lower body. No one could identify it. The samples mysteriously disappeared. The Bloop, the sea titan's cry. It was the loudest underwater sound ever recorded. In 1997, deep in the South Pacific, hydrophones picked up a sound unlike anything before. Low, organic, and colossal. It didn't match any known species or geological event. It sounded alive. They called it the Bloop. Recorded off the coast of Chile, the sound traveled over 3,000 miles. For comparison, blue whales, Earth's largest animals, can be heard over 500 miles. The Bloop was at least 5 times louder. Some scientists suggested collapsing ice shelves, but the audio profile was more consistent with an animal call. And the sound's origin? Suspiciously close to the coordinates of Arlier, the fictional city of Cthulhu. In 2016, a similar ultra-low frequency sound was recorded near the Mariana Trench. Once again, unexplained. The ocean doesn't just hide creatures, it hides giants. The devil whale, Moby Dick, was real. Long before Moby Dick, legends told of the devil whale, a massive white beast that would pretend to be an island, then destroy entire fleets. These weren't fairy tales. In the 1800s, a real albino sperm whale named Mocha Dick haunted the coast of Chile. He survived 100 harpoonings, sank ships, and left men screaming into the sea. He wasn't unique. In 2021, a sperm whale was caught on drone video attacking a killer whale pod, one of the few animals known to do so. Sperm whales can dive over 10,000 feet, use sonar blasts strong enough to rupture a human's eardrum, and have been found with squid beaks the size of hubcaps in their stomachs. Situs, the ancient titan of the sea. Before the Kraken, before Leviathan, there was Situs. In Greek mythology, Situs was the ultimate sea monster, so colossal it was sent by Poseidon himself to devour entire cities. It was Situs that was meant to consume Andromeda, chained to the rocks, until Perseus arrived. But was Situs really a myth, or a misunderstood megafauna? Ancient mariners didn't have submarines or drones. They saw only the surface, massive shapes rising and falling, sometimes spraying mist or roaring like thunder. Some modern scholars believe Situs could have been inspired by sightings of prehistoric whales like Leviathan melvillei, a now extinct predator with 14-inch long teeth, larger than T-Rex, and a body longer than a bus. Fossil records show these monsters ruled the Miocene seas over 10 million years ago. Massive jaws, carnivorous instincts, and the size to swallow a human whole. Could oral tradition have preserved a distant memory of these giants? And if so, was Situs not just myth, but ancient eyewitness reporting? The Loggerfle worm, Iceland's Loch Ness. Monster deep in the foggy highlands of Iceland lies Lake Loggerfle. Cold, still, deceptively calm. But beneath that surface, legend says, slithers the Loggerfle worm, a serpent said to stretch over 300 feet, capable of coiling around boats and yanking them into the icy depths. The first written account dates back to 1345. That's nearly 700 years of consistent sightings, from farmers, travelers, and even soldiers. It's described as part dragon, part eel, with a head like a horse and the movement of a python. In 2012, a viral video surfaced showing a long, undulating form gliding under the lake ice. It was blurry, but eerie. Local officials declared it authentic footage, not edited or fabricated. Skeptics say it's debris. Believers say you can't debunk hundreds of years of eyewitnesses with one theory. What's compelling is this. Iceland sits on a volcanic rift zone, meaning the earth beneath the lake is constantly shifting. Underwater vents, geothermal pulses, and magnetic anomalies could disturb deep-dwelling creatures, or worse, awaken them. Could the Loggerfle worm be a relic of prehistoric serpents, a freshwater descendant of ancient marine reptiles? In Iceland, they don't ask if it exists. They ask when it'll rise again. Aspidokone, the island that eats ships. Imagine this. A crew of sailors, exhausted and sun-scorched, spots what looks like a small island in the distance. Lush. Still. A place to rest. They row ashore, set up camp, and light fires to cook dinner. But then the ground shakes. The island begins to move. And just like that, they're gone. This is the legend of Aspidokone, a mythical sea creature so massive it was mistaken for an island. In medieval bestiaries, it's drawn with sailors standing on its back, moments before it sinks. Some describe it as a turtle, others as a whale the size of a mountain. But here's the twist. Giant leatherback turtles, the largest in the world, can weigh up to 2,000 pounds. Some marine biologists believe there may have been larger, now extinct species. Fossil records also reveal the archelon, a prehistoric turtle over 13 feet long. Its shell could carry a small car. Is Aspidokone just ancient exaggeration, or a memory of a true leviathan that once ruled the surface? When the sea offers you land, beware. It might just be hungry. Umei Bosu, the shadow from the waves. Japan's seas are mysterious, haunted by countless legends. But few are more feared than the Umei Bosu. Described as a massive humanoid figure with smooth, bald skin and eyes like glowing stones, the Umei Bosu is said to appear suddenly on calm waters before destroying ships without warning. According to legend, the moment a sailor speaks to the Umei Bosu, the creature becomes enraged, smashing the boat or demanding barrels to be filled with water. If denied, it capsizes the vessel. Some think these tales stem from sudden rogue waves or giant squids. Others suspect mass hallucinations caused by fear and exhaustion on open waters. But eerie similarities show up in modern accounts. Large, dark shapes rising during storms, strange noises, boats sinking under calm conditions. Could the Umei Bosu be a folkloric warning about respecting the sea, or a cryptid that still haunts Japan's coastal waters? Either way, if the sea falls silent and you see something rising, don't speak. Encantado, the shape-shifting river. Dolphin. In the Amazon, the locals speak of a beautiful stranger at village festivals. Charming, dressed in white, a master of music. But when the sun rises, he's gone, and so are the women. This is the legend of the Encantado, a shape-shifting dolphin spirit who takes human form, seduces villagers, and returns to the river by dawn. As strange as it sounds, this myth is tied to the Boto, or Amazon river dolphin. These pink-hued mammals are highly intelligent, and their strange, human-like faces may have inspired the story. Fishermen have reported botos approaching boats with eerie awareness. Some even claim they've seen them standing upright in shallow waters at dusk. Scientists have studied these creatures for years, but their behavior remains oddly elusive. Could the legend of the Encantado be based on something more than superstition? A case of animal intelligence crossing into the uncanny? In the Amazon, they don't mock the Encantado. They warn their daughters to be home before dark. The Selkie, seal people of the Northern Isles. In the storm-lashed cliffs of Scotland and Ireland, whispers speak of Selkies, beings that are seal in the sea, but human on land. According to legend, they shed their skins at night to walk the shores. If a human steals their seal skin, the Selkie is trapped, forced to live a human life, often in sorrow. Many folk tales tell of fishermen who married Selkies, only to be left behind when the skin was found and the sea called them home. The myth may be rooted in sightings of northern elephant seals or gray seals standing upright on rocky beaches, especially when seen in fog or twilight. Their large, soulful eyes and humanoid postures can look almost mystical from a distance. Anthropologists also believe Selkie legends helped coastal communities explain the sudden disappearances of loved ones at sea, and the feeling that the ocean always takes what it wants. Whether myth or metaphor, the Selkie reminds us, the sea gives, and it always takes back. The Bakunawa, the moon-eating serpent of the Philippines. In ancient Filipino mythology, there is a creature so powerful it could rise from the ocean and swallow the moon whole. They call it Bakunawa, a sea serpent with a mouth so vast it could black out the sky. During lunar eclipses, villagers would bang pots and pans to scare it away, believing it was devouring the moon. Even today, this ritual is performed in rural areas. Myth says Bakunawa once lived peacefully in the sea, guarding 7 moons. But consumed by envy, it rose to consume them one by one. Only the last moon was saved, thanks to the noise and cries of the people. While we now know eclipses are celestial events, this legend reveals how deeply the ocean was tied to cosmic fears. Some interpret Bakunawa as a symbol of tsunamis or sea level rise, a monstrous force that swallows the light and brings darkness. Others wonder, could such myths be ancient memories of meteor impacts, or real creatures whose power was beyond comprehension? Whatever it was, Bakunawa remains one of the most majestic and terrifying sea legends in Southeast Asia. Sirens, the voices of death. You know the story. A ship sails too close to jagged rocks. The crew hears singing, and no one survives. In Greek mythology, the sirens were not half-fish beauties like mermaids. They were bird-like, terrifying women with claws, feathers, and a song that drove men insane. Homer's Odyssey tells us that Odysseus had to be tied to the mast to resist their call, while his crew stuffed their ears with wax. But here's the thing. This story repeats across cultures. The Slavic Rousulka, the Celtic Banshee, even Viking tales of death spirits in the fog. All share a theme, a woman's voice bringing death from the sea. Scientists speculate some of these legends may have stemmed from sound mirages, distant whale songs bouncing off water, disorienting sailors. But the real terror. Some believe sirens are symbolic of the ocean itself, beautiful, mysterious, and fatal if underestimated. Yurongander, the world serpent. In Norse mythology, Yurongander is no ordinary snake. It's so massive that it wraps around the entire earth and bites its own tail. Legend says that when it lets go, Ragnarok, the end of the world, will begin. To the Vikings, Jormungandr lived in the sea's deepest trenches, rising only during great storms or battles. Modern interpretations see it as a metaphor for tsunamis or oceanic shifts. But there's more. Fossils of prehistoric sea serpents like Mosasaurus and Pliosaurus show that huge, snake-like predators did once dominate the seas. Some grew over 50 feet long, with jaws built to crush bone. Could the Norse have heard tales or seen bones? Could Jormungandr be a cultural echo of real, prehistoric fear? When the ocean circles the world and tightens, you listen. Rousulka, the drowned dead of the rivers. In Eastern European folklore, the Rousulka is not your friendly water spirit. She's the ghost of a woman who died violently, often betrayed, drowned, or abandoned. And she rises from lakes or rivers to lure men into watery graves. Rousulki are said to have glowing eyes, tangled hair, and dripping white dresses. They appear calm until you get close. Some historians believe these myths emerged to warn people, especially young men, about the dangers of wandering near rivers at night. But here's the unsettling part. Similar stories exist in Japan, Funayure, the Philippines, White Lady of the River, and even Native American lore. Why do so many cultures speak of female spirits rising from water? Maybe it's memory, maybe it's guilt, or maybe water remembers. The Hydra, the serpent that wouldn't die. In Greek legend, the Lernaean Hydra was a nightmare, a venomous, multi-headed serpent that grew 2 new heads every time one was cut off. It lived in the swampy lake of Lerna, a site said to be an entrance to the underworld. While we don't have regenerating monsters yet, real-life animals with polycephaly, multiple heads, have been documented, especially in snakes and turtles. And swamps and rivers are breeding grounds for genetic mutations caused by chemical runoffs and natural anomalies. Could ancient people have encountered a mutated serpent and exaggerated it over time? Or were they documenting something that once existed in the forgotten corners of nature? One thing's for sure, the Hydra isn't just about horror, it's about unstoppable horror. The Blue Men of the Minch, Scotland's sea tricksters. Off the coast of Scotland, in the strait called the Minch, sailors told tales of blue-skinned humanoids who emerged from the waves, laughing, speaking in rhyme, and testing sailors with riddles. If you failed to answer, they capsized your ship. These were the Blue Men of the Minch, sea tricksters believed to summon storms and steal vessels for fun. Some think they were inspired by Norse invaders painted in blue war dye. Others suggest the myth emerged from dead sailors whose corpses turned bluish in cold water. But still, Local legends say the blue men live in caves below the sea, waiting. Riddle me this. If the ocean spoke in rhyme, would you answer? The Fiji Mermaid, the greatest hoax or something real? In 1842, P.T. Barnum displayed what he claimed was a real mermaid, dried, mummified, and grotesque. The Fiji Mermaid, as it was called, had the torso of a monkey and the tail of a fish. Of course, it was a hoax, stitched together by craftsmen in Asia and passed off as real for fame and fortune. But here's what's interesting. Cultures around the world have identical mermaid tales, long before global communication. Could the hoax have been based on real sightings, deformed sea creatures, hallucinations, or something that slipped through the cracks of biology? Sometimes fake things are inspired by real fears. Kalibdis, the whirlpool of death. Across from Scylla in the Strait of Messina lurked her sister, Kalibdis, a monstrous whirlpool said to suck entire ships into the underworld. Odysseus had to sail between the two. The literal origin of the phrase, between a rock and a hard place. Kalibdis may sound like fantasy, but whirlpools are real and deadly, especially in straits with opposing currents and shifting seabeds. Some natural whirlpools, like Saltstraumen in Norway or Korivrekken in Scotland, are powerful enough to capsize small boats. What's more, underwater earthquakes can suddenly displace water, creating instant maelstroms, silent, swirling death traps. Kalibdis wasn't just a monster. She was a warning about what happens when nature gets hungry. Cthulhu, the sea god from the stars. It started as fiction. In 1928, writer H.P. Lovecraft introduced the world to Cthulhu, a cosmic sea god sleeping beneath the Pacific, waiting to rise. Described as a towering creature with tentacles for a face and wings on its back, Cthulhu became the symbol of unknowable horror from the deep. But here's where it gets chilling. In 1997, the U.S. Navy recorded a mysterious, ultra-low frequency sound in the South Pacific. It was louder than any known creature. They called it the Bloop. Guess where the sound came from? Near the exact coordinates Lovecraft gave for Cthulhu's resting place, R'lyeh. Scientists claimed it was an icequake, but the sound's signature matched that of a living creature. Was it a coincidence? Or did Lovecraft tap into something real, something ancient? Sometimes fiction is just truth in disguise. SCP-3000, the Mind Eating Eel. In the realm of digital horror, few creatures are as terrifying as SCP-3000, a fictional entity from the SCP Foundation universe. It's described as a massive eel, hundreds of miles long, coiled deep within the Bay of Bengal. A creature so massive it wraps around tectonic plates, and so dangerous it feeds not just on flesh, but memory. Now you might say, that's just a story. But let's talk about deep-sea gigantism, a real phenomenon where creatures grow to unbelievable sizes due to pressure, cold, and darkness. And in 2014, sonar images in the Indian Ocean showed moving anomalies over 200 meters long, with no known explanation. Add to that unexplained cases of deep-sea divers experiencing memory loss, confusion, and hallucinations. Maybe the mind-eating part is fiction, but the monster in the trench? Maybe not. Yakumama, the mother of the waters. In the Amazon rainforest, the rivers are sacred and feared. Indigenous tribes speak of Yakumama, a massive sea serpent said to reach 100 feet long. It guards the river mouths and punishes intruders. Its name means Mother of Water, a protector but also a destroyer. Explorers in the 1800s wrote of river dragons and moving trees that swallowed boats whole. Some described an animal so large that when it moved, the river boiled. Modern biologists believe this legend may have roots in Titanoboa, a prehistoric snake over 40 feet long that once ruled tropical waters. But locals insist Yakumama still lives, deep, still, and watching. When the jungle goes silent, it might not be empty. Crabzilla, the internet's biggest crustacean. In 2014, a photo surfaced online that broke the internet. It showed a massive crab, at least 50 feet wide, lurking in the shallows of Whitstable Harbour, UK. The media dubbed it Crabzilla. Was it Photoshop, a trick of the light, or something more? Giant crabs are real. The Japanese spider crab can grow up to 12 feet claw to claw, and in the deep ocean, size rules. Crustaceans keep growing with age, and in cold, high-pressure environments, that can mean huge. While no one has confirmed Crabzilla, multiple divers have reported sudden strong currents, unexplained movement, and the eerie sound of clicking from the deep. If it's a hoax, it's a persistent one. If it's real, we haven't seen its claws yet. Tongue-eating louse, the real parasite nightmare. Imagine opening a fish and finding a creature inside its mouth, staring back at you. Meet the tongue-eating louse, a real-life parasite that crawls into a fish's mouth, eats its tongue, and replaces it. It doesn't kill the fish, it becomes the tongue and feeds off blood. While this parasite doesn't attack humans yet, it's proof that the sea holds horrors stranger than fiction. Variants of this parasite have been found across oceans, and scientists are still trying to understand how it evolved such efficiency. The next time you order fish, take a peek inside. You might not be the first to eat it. Irukandji, the invisible killer. It's only the size of your fingernail, transparent, almost invisible. But the Irukandji jellyfish is one of the most venomous creatures on Earth, and it lives in the waters of Australia. Its sting is nearly painless at first. Then comes nausea, muscle spasms, full body agony, and worst of all, an intense, overwhelming sense of doom. Victims often beg doctors to let them die, a condition known as Irukandji syndrome. It was only discovered in the 1950s. Before that, swimmers just disappeared. This isn't a monster from legend. This is nature's real assassin, and it's still out there. Lancet fish, the cannibal of the deep. At first glance, the lancet fish looks like a deep-sea nightmare, dagger-like teeth, giant dorsal fin, and a glassy, lifeless stare. But it gets worse. This predator is known to eat its own kind, and even fish it can't digest. Autopsies have found whole animals inside, still alive. Lancet fish live thousands of feet deep, but sometimes wash ashore, perfectly preserved, as if something forced them up. No one knows why. No one knows how they breed, and sightings often follow deep-sea tremors or sonar disruptions. They don't just survive the dark. They might thrive in it. The Barilai fish, the transparent-headed alien. Deep beneath the waves, in total darkness, swims a creature that seems impossible, a fish with a completely transparent head. Meet the Barilai fish. Its tubular green eyes look straight up through its see-through skull, allowing it to track prey above without moving. Discovered in the 1930s, it wasn't filmed alive until 2004. Until then, scientists weren't even sure if it was real or just a decomposed hoax. Its still, hovering body, its alien gaze, its ghostly silence. It's not a monster from a sci-fi movie. It's real, and it reminds us that in the deep, biology doesn't follow the rules. Vampire squid, the living fossil. With cloak-like arms, crimson flesh, and bioluminescent tips, the vampire squid lives in the twilight zone. Too dark for light, too deep for predators. But here's the twist. It's not a squid or an octopus. It's an ancient hybrid species that's remained unchanged for millions of years. A true living fossil. Its scientific name? Vampiroteuthis infernalis, literally, vampire squid from hell. And it gets weirder. It doesn't hunt. It eats marine snow, the falling debris of dead ocean life, a creature that thrives on the sea's leftovers, gliding silently in the dark. If the Kraken had a creepy little cousin, it's this, the five-lined constellation fish, the fish that disappeared. In 1934, biologist William Beebe conducted one of the first deep-sea dives ever, 3,000 feet down in a steel sphere called the bathysphere. What he saw stunned him, a glowing fish with 5 brilliant blue-green lines on its side, unlike anything in recorded science. He named it the five-lined constellation fish. But here's the catch. No one else ever saw it. No specimens were found, no video, no follow-up. Was Beebe hallucinating under pressure? Or did he witness a creature that rises only once and never returns? Some scientists today believe he saw a bioluminescent species still unknown to science. One dive, one glimpse, one ghost of the deep. The Mariana Trench blob, the organism with no name. In 2016, researchers exploring the Mariana Trench encountered something they couldn't explain. A translucent, gelatinous orb. It hovered mid-water, pulsing gently, without eyes, limbs, or organs. They called it the blob, and to this day, no one knows what it is. It doesn't match any known jellyfish. It doesn't fit into any taxonomic group. Some believe it's a completely new phylum of life, a creature not built to swim, but to exist where time and pressure warp biology. And what's scarier? If it's down there, what else is? BBs Dragonfish, the monster. No one believed in that same 1934 bathysphere dive, Beebe reported another impossible creature. A dragon-shaped fish over 6 feet long, with rows of glowing fangs and a body that shimmered like fire. No specimen, no record, no evidence. He called it the BB Dragonfish. Critics mocked him, but decades later, similar creatures began turning up. The black dragonfish, the loose jaw, and viperfish, all with terrifying jaws, glowing organs, and semi-transparent skin. Beebe may have been the first to witness them alive, before the world was ready to believe. Just because science hasn't caught it, doesn't mean it isn't real. Point Nemo, where monsters might sleep. Point Nemo is the most remote location on Earth, the oceanic pole of inaccessibility. It's so far from land that the closest humans are usually astronauts orbiting overhead, and it's home to dozens of unexplained anomalies, deep sonar pings, moving shadows, and of course, the Bloop was recorded near here. NASA has dropped decommissioned satellites here. Some believe it's where governments test secret submarines. Others whisper it's where ancient beasts go to die. No one's ever explored it fully, and maybe that's for the best. The deep ones. What if we aren't alone? Across folklore, from the Pacific Islands to Arctic Inuit, there are stories of beings beneath the sea. Not fish, not monsters, people. Called the deep ones in Lovecraftian lore, or sea dwarves, water spirits, or drowned gods in other cultures. These beings are described as humanoid, scaled, gilled, and watching. Ancient maps marked them. Explorers whispered about people who swam like fish. Divers report sensations of being watched, even touched, in deep wrecks. Conspiracy, myth, or a cousin species that lives where no light has ever shone? The truth is simple. We don't know what's in the ocean, and that is the scariest truth of all. We've only explored about 20% of our oceans. And what we've already found, alien-like, nightmare-fueled, and beyond explanation. From massive glowing predators to creatures that rewrite the rules of biology. One thing is clear. The deep sea doesn't hide monsters. It creates them. If this is what we know, imagine what's still waiting. Thanks for diving into the abyss with us here at No Chill Nature. If this gave you chills, hit that like button, subscribe, and tap the notification bell. Because we're just getting started. New episodes every week. Because nature doesn't play nice, and neither do we.